Who watches The Watchmen? We do! Welcome everyone to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Watchmen Season 1, Episode 7. It's called An Almost Religious Awe. So full spoilers for the episode as always. And yeah, there's definitely spoilers in this one. There's definitely something you could spoil. And I actually had to dodge the spoilers a little bit because it was Monday, and I was going about my business, and I'll glance at Twitter, and I almost read something about Watchmen, and I went, oh no, people talk about Watchmen, what's happening, what's going on? And I immediately then went to watch the episode because I thought, I better watch it now before someone asshole spoils it for me. What's your thoughts?
So you weren't spoiled at all?
I wasn't spoiled, no.
Me neither.
I went unscathed. I watched the episode. And got a pretty insane twist out of it, which obviously we'll talk about at the end because it's right at the end of the episode. But it does raise an interesting set of questions and an interesting can of worms because you almost kind of was starting to guess this.
I don't think so. I think anybody who guessed this is they have an inside guy.
No, you kind of did. I remembered you talking about. We're not talking about this now. I'll leave this, but I'm bringing this up later.
There's no way I guessed it.
No, you were kind of no, because I immediately thought of something you said.
I don't read Reddit boards anymore because they're a waste of time. I there's no way I would have guessed it. If I guessed it, it was a joke.
No, because you okay, fine. We're talking about it now because you're fighting me on it. So it was a few episodes ago. It was when it was one of the first times we saw what's her face, Laurie talking to Angela. And it was in the car, and she mentioned something about her past relationship. She was talking about Angela's husband. You said something, because as soon as this happened at the end of the episode, I remembered you saying something about this. And my first thought was, I can't believe she was effing right about this. That was my first thought.
I don't know. I'll have to check the tapes.
I'm going to have to go back. I have to remember what episode that was and go back and check. It was at least 2 episodes ago, maybe 3. But I actually thought I'm sure you weren't like seriously suggesting or whatever, but you said something that was along the lines of our husband might be this, or comparing Cal to we'll get to it. So the episode starts with a flashback to the 80s, and if I have any critiques about the episode is that it was kind of weird, although it kind of justified it by the end. But at first I thought it was kind of weird that we just had an entire episode that was entirely one big flashback. That we then start the next episode and we have recurring flashbacks this episode as well. So that's a bit strange. It's a bit weird to have that immediately again.
I was thinking it was kind of weird that we went from an episode that was so focused and grounded in one thing to this bizarre, probably the weirdest episode so far that we've had. And I think anybody who was unsure if they liked The Watchmen probably decided that they didn't like it at this point. And anybody who's definitely hate watching The Watchmen because they are holding on to the original are definitely angry now.
We talk about.
I am not any of those people, by the way. I loved it.
So we have this flashback to young Angela, it's the 80s, and she's a young girl in Vietnam. This is the death of her parents, which you kind of knew something bad was going to happen at the end of this, just because I've had that feeling of it. But she's we start with it's like a cheesy VHS documentary about Dr. Manhattan that you could get in the 80s, and there's a lot of like little mythology things throughout this scene where you can see that he's, Manhattan's painted on murals all over this city, but there's also clearly a contingent who are writing murderer over him and things like that. There's clearly an anti-Manhattan group within the country as well, and we have young Angela looking through the VHS tapes in the video store, and I know some of you young kiddies out there don't remember what a video store is, or even ever had been in one, but she's looking through the video store and she lands on Sister Night. This is where she gets her name from. Is a Foxy Brown looking knockoff called Sister Night.
Yeah, it's a very blaxploitation film.
Yeah, and she takes it up to the counter and she's talking Vietnamese to the guy, and he's like, "Your parents are gonna let you watch that," and she's like, "Nope, give me it, I want it." And he's like, "Okay, fine, but I'll give you your money back when you come back in 5 minutes when they tell you can't have it." All right, like he's been a nice enough guy about it. He clearly knows her well enough to sort of have this banter, and she goes outside.
Apparently, she's tried to do this before. That's what I got from it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. She's probably tried to rent. I mean, I don't know exactly what year it was, but like she probably tried to get The Thing or something before, and was told, "Nope, you're not watching The Thing."
Well, I think she was trying to rent this one before because she very clearly is drawn to this particular movie, even though she's too young for it.
Oh, I didn't actually think that was the same movie, but you could be right. Yeah, I was just thinking because the way she sort of like stumbled onto it in the rack made me feel like it was the first time she'd found this one. But she's clearly tried R-rated movies and other things before. And I empathize with her because I'm pretty sure by this age I was watching most R-rated stuff that I wanted to. I was not having it held back.
Yeah, my issue was going to the movie theater with my friend, being dropped off by my mom to go see whatever movie we wanted, and then not being able to go in.
Oh.
I mean, sometimes we would get in, and every time it was awesome. But every now and then they'd say, "Sorry, you're not old enough."
Yeah. So we see parts of the sales. There's like a parade going on outside or a festival, and she's walking through the stands, and we see there's like several people.
It's called the VVI. I don't know what that stands for though.
Vietnam.
Have you been reading the PD files?
Not since like the first batch. It's been a while.
Yeah, I only looked at the big dildo diagram. That's the only thing I looked at.
Because they've added
that one.
Yeah, they've added a few every week after each episode. I've not been keeping up with them, but
I bet it's explained in there because there's a lot of little things. I'm just like, VVI. I wonder. That's what they described this like parade or festival as.
Vietnam something independence. Well, it's not really independence because it became a state, so it's kind of the opposite of independence. But
yeah.
But I don't know.
You're probably right on Vietnam being one of them.
Yeah, this is a good guess. I mean, they're celebrating becoming part of the US seemingly, and Vietnam's the country.
What's not to like about
that? No comment. So she's walking through this, and we see like a glimpse of like people wearing like Manhattan masks. There's like one guy painted blue wearing like a Speedo. In fact, in the documentary at the start, you even see like, you don't see his face, but you see like the footage of like Manhattan walking through Vietnam from the comic. Really cool. Notably, and to be fair, this is actually accurate to the comic, but he was wearing his Speedos. He wasn't just flopping the dong.
Right.
As he often does. But in the comics, that was also true in that scenario. He was wearing the Speedo or the thong or whatever during the Vietnam stuff.
I approve of the word dong, the choice of the word dong. We've had this discussion before of which one's funnier. Dong is at least 20% funnier than any other word for penis.
I'm still positive there's funnier, but it's a pretty consistently funnier one, I'll give you that. What if you put ding in front of it? Ding dong.
Ding dong's kind of good, yeah. Dong's definitely the best. Anyway, continue.
So she goes to her parents, and her dad is very anti-masks. He's like, no, people who put on masks are dangerous, and you shouldn't. You're not old enough to understand the difference between reality and what's fake, and sometimes fake can become real. Yada yada yada. And it kind of like quickly flashes back. And one of the things I kind of appreciated as I was watching through the episode, I didn't really actually realize it in this scene, but as I was going through some of these flashbacks, is that she's having these flashbacks of her own memories, right? And so that kind of separates it from last episode because it's her memories and not Will's. But she's experienced all of Will's memories. So what I thought was really interesting in these flashbacks is that everything that was happening, she was kind of experiencing it in two contexts. She was experiencing the context of her own memory of her parents, but she's also experienced it in the context of, oh, this is my son, because she's also kind of remembering it as well too.
Right.
And it's made clear, Lady True says multiple times that, right now you're kind of not sure which one is you and which one is him. You're kind of, and she is becoming more clearly herself throughout the episode, but her mind and her memories and her dreams are definitely still kind of, fudged together. And I thought that was really interesting watching this, especially later on when, the wife character, Will's wife, shows up, like how that was kind of mixed because
June.
yeah, June, because last episode, I don't know if you said this last episode, but someone definitely said it in the comments that one moment at the end of old June speaking to her was probably Angela's own memory kind of mixing in with his, and it was I was absolutely right. That was the perfect read on that, because that's what we see in this episode.
Yeah, that was not me. I didn't predict that at all.
Did I keep giving you props for things you never did? Because
I mean, you can keep going. I just feel bad taking credit.
Yeah, I scrolled down to have the names in front of me just in case I get any other names, forgotten for a second. And the first name I just noticed as I looked at it was Miss Crookshanks.
Crookshanks.
Which, we got more right this week, but we didn't actually get him saying anything. Well, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the fart. The fart was great, but there was no Miss Crookshanks. Crankshanksing. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, but she did have a good scene.
Yes, but we'll get to that. Angela wakes up, after the suicide bomber kills her parents, along with some other military.
She gets thrown from her bed.
yeah. Lady True comes in, she's like, oh, you've woken up, 10 times already, and I've given you this, and she gives her this quick, like, drug that gives her, like, a quick, it's always like a, like
it's amazing.
It's definitely based on the nostalgia technology in that it gives her like essentially a memory, but the memory is like a pre-recorded video explaining what.
Yeah, it's like a tutorial I think she calls it a tutorial.
Yeah.
But it's just like a rundown of what the medication does, without all the listed side effects that go on for like 50 pages.
Yeah, yeah. More specifically, it's kind of like telling her this process of her healing. And like what's happening
like a
here.
Really calming voice that comes in, and it's like a blooming flower, very peaceful, breaking down exactly what's happening in her brain right now, which is for her and for us, of course.
And she's like, "Wait, am I connected to Will? Is that what's happening here?"
She says, "I'm connected to a neutral host," and Lady True never confirms it. I watched it twice.
Very good. So you've got all the details, right? I'm going to trust you to correct everything I say.
That's what I'm here for.
So, she's not very happy as Angela. Never effing do that to me again, is what she says when she wakes up from this little tutorial.
Right.
And so, throughout the episode, we have these flashbacks, and we have her in the hospital bed. Cal tries to come and see her and isn't let in. What's the daughter's name?
I never caught her name. It's like Breen or something.
Bian.
Bian?
Yeah, Bian. Bian. And like a little hologram of her like pops up. The security guard brings out this like little ring, puts it on the ground, and then it beams her up, the hologram. And she explains, he can't come in, and he's very frustrated. Red Scare and one of the other masked cops is kind of sitting out there in guard.
Parrot Jenny.
Yeah. They're here to sort of, because she's still technically under arrest as Angela, but she's been brought here, otherwise she would die. And so, as we're watching this and we get more of these flashbacks, we get her like picking, pointing out the suspect, the one who was at the puppet show right before the suicide bomber. And we see a mask go on him, and she kind of quickly flashes back to Hooded Justice, getting his hood on for the first time, and she hears the gunshot, and she wants to hear it, and she's like, "Oh, I want to be a cop," and she's the cop gives her the badge and says, "One day you could be this," or whatever. She didn't say that, but and we see her at the orphanage.
She says, "Come and find me when you grow up."
And which begs the question: does she go and find her? Do we see her older at some point? I don't know, but. We see the orphanage, like, she's treated, like, not great. Like, she's not, like, being abused or anything, but the person in charge of the kids...
No, it looks like they might be working as, like, kind of like a sweatshop, though. They're all, like, painting figures of Dr. Manhattan, like all the orphan kids are. And it doesn't look like she's being called out for being and treated bad. I think, like, all the orphans are just treated poorly.
Oh, sure, yeah, they're all getting treated bad. She's like a drill sergeant, and they're making, it looks like Russian dolls they're making of Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah,
that's what they're like.
Well, Russia is an ally now. They also have in like Saigon, they were eating at like a burger and borscht place or something. It was very Russian looking.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be an ally with Russia to make Russian dolls, for the record.
Yeah.
I
I don't
thought.
think so either. But they might be more popular. Who knows?
True. Yeah. So we have this, and then eventually we have this flashback where June comes to visit her, comes to collect her as a guardian, and wants to take her back home, and we find out that she only didn't even know her son had a wife, never made a kid, and only found out because of his death, and. She was like, okay, I have to come and see you, and she's like, hey, is this the video you like? And she's like, oh, you know what? I've got a VCR back at home. As soon as we get there, we'll watch it. And now, maybe I've got a dark sense of humor, right? But see when she has a heart attack, just as they're about to leave for the airport, and she dies behind the car. Young Angela has almost become not an orphan again, and then her new guardian immediately dies. I got a bit of a sick chuckle out of this, in a very sort of
Well,
demented
you're a very
way.
sick man because it's an awful scene. She was an orphan in Saigon, where everyone around her looks different from her. That's why she holds on to this video cassette tape of a woman who looks like her. And finally, this woman shows up and says, "I'm going to take care of you, bring you home to Tulsa, where you're from," and puts her in the car, straps her in, and dies. And immediately, she has this big, what every orphan probably imagines is going to happen. They're going to have a long lost family member who picks them up and is going to give them a life that they love. And it's immediately taken away from her. It's so sad. Why are you laughing, you monster?
But I don't know. This is something. It's the way it's presented.
A lot better character, right? Because we even see in this scene with Lady True, where because she's losing all these memories of Will, she starts getting really emotional.
Oh yeah.
And every time we've seen her be emotional, it's always a trick. It's always fake. And then immediately she Lady True said, "Well, what's the memory of?" And she goes, "It was my birthday. My parents bought me a pony." And she's straight back to being serious, Angela. She could just turn it off.
That was the first one. That was after her death. It was after the first flashback she asked that. But no, let's go back. I want to go back to the Sister Night video for a second, because what you just pointed out, what they said was she liked this video because she looks like me. What I really like about that is that's actually something that's very kind of topical.
It means representation matters.
Yeah. But it's very topical, just in general, because of that, because of having superheroes who are women or black or Asian or whatever, right? It's something we talk about a lot these days. It's something we talk about improving. It's all these things. But again, much like a lot of movies and TV, you turn it up to 11, so you have her literally in a different country where almost everyone isn't black, right? This isn't like like cities in America where there are huge black communities, and there is obviously misrepresentation in the media, but this is even more extreme than that, where there's not even anyone around her who looks like her.
Yeah, it's
like everyone is, or at least the vast majority of people are Asian because she's in Vietnam. So it's turning everything up to 11. It's turning everything up to the extreme. So I really like that in that sense when the video stuff came up.
Yeah, and I think the whole point of the representation thing really plays into the twist or what we find out the 7th Cavalry and the Senators doing. His lines are pretty gross, and I think it kind of plays into what he says also later on in the episode, which I won't get into now, but
you're really bad for this. You know that it was episode 4 or 5 where I got mad at you because you kept jumping around the plot too much when I was trying to go through it in a sensible order.
Well, everything's all connected. It's all a big puzzle.
Hold it in!
This is the Rubik's Cube of TV shows.
Remember your point and bring it back up when we get to that.
I won't. I'll forget.
Joe doesn't forget? Elephants. Elephants never forget.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So eventually, after a conversation with Lady True, admittedly, where I'm going to take some points because I was right about Bian being a clone, although not a clone of Lady True, a clone of Lady True's mother, and she's given her.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, because see when Angela's saying, "Oh well, I spoke to your daughter. She gave me this little weird test, this little psychology test about who's more dangerous and who's more safe, and yada yada." And she was talking about her dreams. You're giving her nostalgia. Whose memories are you giving her? And she's like, her own. And I went, oh. And I still thought it was herself. And then she's like, it's my mother. And I'm like, oh.
And then I think she says like, is your father also a clone? And she said, well, he's not here yet or something.
No, she just says, is your father here too? And she says, not yet, but he will be. So.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know if that means...
Ooh, unless it's fight.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if that means cloning, because that sounds a little bit different to me.
Yeah. Maybe it's fight. Maybe fight's the dad.
I mean, that's a whole other...
She has a gold statue of him.
True, yeah, maybe.
Maybe the save me D is save me daughter?
Yeah, maybe.
It's a long word to spell.
Actually, yes, I think one of our regulars actually asked why we never suspected, save me, Dr. Manhattan, and I never suggested that because I just simply thought
it's way too long.
Well, no, I mean, forget how long it is. I mean, daughter's a fairly long word as well. Like, I never suspected that because I feel like Dr. Manhattan's the one who put him here, and hell, this episode made me feel that even more so. Like, I'm still convinced.
Who else can get him onto Europa?
Yeah, and put him in a bubble like this. Like I feel like Dr. Manhattan is the one who did it to him, so I don't think he's asking Dr. Manhattan for help. And especially since he was trying to intentionally timing it with the satellite going past. He was definitely trying to catch someone on Earth's attention. And given where Dr. Manhattan's been, I don't think Dr. Manhattan's looking at satellites recently, so more on that in a bit. So Angela... That was a fair tease. Don't give me the eyebrow. Right, so she follows her cord or tube, because she's got this. That's in her arm all episode. She's sort of like that. She's like tethered to a room like all episode, and she follows it and she breaks into this room. I think it's when Lady True's making her speech about stuff, and she admits that nostalgia was a mistake, and she points out that when it comes to these memories, we thought it would be good for people to like keep memories and remember things of other people should they wish, but everyone always held on to the worst memories and the painful memories, and no one could ever give up the pain. Which we talked a lot about last episode about nostalgia being toxic, being the theme, and this idea that we kind of obsess over the pain. And what's so weird actually is this airs the same night as Mr. Robot, and I could almost make a link in the themes between this and Mr. Robot, right? I'm not going to, because I'd have to spoil tons of shit in Mr. Robot to do it, but let it be known.
Anyway. I
know you wouldn't get it, but the people, mate.
What people?
The people
don't watch us.
People watch us. A lot of people watch Mr. Robot reviews.
Yeah, well, good for them.
Oh, I can't win.
Maybe it's my fault.
I just can't.
Maybe it's because I jump around too much.
Is this going to be a thing now? Is this a one episode thing, or am I going to be getting pot shots for this next week too? Okay, so all right.
I'm over it.
Just checking. So she finds an elephant. Her and the elephant are both hooked up to the same machine. I don't know if that meant that she was also connected to the elephant through the machine, or if they were both just hooked up to the same thing.
I thought that was kind of implied.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because elephants are known for having long memory?
I jokingly thought that, but I don't know, like, is that actually scientifically...
The true symbol is an elephant, like the head of an elephant.
Sure. Well,
no,
I mean,
it's part of the nostalgia drug that they use or something.
When she opened the door, I assumed she was connected to the elephant, but then once I saw where the pipes were actually going, I was like, oh no, that actually looks like they're both going to something else. But It could just be they're connected through a machine, like, it filters the elephant.
Kind of dialysis.
Yeah, it's filtering the elephant juice before it gets to her.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it's not blood they're taking from it.
Well, I mean, they use horseshoe crab blood for like cancer medicine. I don't know what kind, but that's a thing.
Sure.
So maybe elephant blood could be used for something, or juice, as you described.
Well, it didn't seem like they were taking blood from. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is
I don't
blood.
know. Yeah.
But like, I mean,
it was an opaque cable, so we don't really know.
But look at how big that hose. I'm going to call it a hose. That hose was huge. How much elephant blood can one human being take? Like, I don't think it was blood.
I don't know.
At least not fully unfiltered anyway. Like, which again goes back to being filtered through.
I don't know if we're going to get answers to this.
I don't know either.
Only 2 episodes left, and we have a lot of questions.
Well, this is very specific. I don't necessarily need the elephant stuff to be answered specifically. This feels like
maybe it's in the PD files. I don't know.
Maybe, but this feels kind of almost like a weird detail, not for weird detail's sake, but it was something that doesn't need to be explained because it's just a part of the world in the background. Like, this isn't a big moment in the show. This is like something that's going to make us all go, wait, what was with the elephant? But it's not. It's not like a pivotal plot point. Yeah, this is no Lube Man. Yes, yeah. Where's Lube Man? Lube Man must return. Damn it!
I don't know. We need the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off of Lube Man and Panda.
Yes, yes. Lube Man and Panda need to be here as a buddy cop duo. Season 2 better be Lube Man and Panda. So after this, she tries to leave. She goes down the elevator, and she ends up, instead of in the foyer or the ground floor, she ends up in a weird science fiction room that is completely dark but has a blue globe in the middle that's lit up. And she goes up and starts prodding at it. And when she touches parts of the map, it starts playing back. And I clocked on quite quickly that this was the Manhattan booths. And then, of course, she spins it, goes to the US side of the map, and it says, okay, that's Tulsa. Hits Tulsa, and we see some of Laurie Blake's
telling her jokes,
and she's like, "What's this?" And then in comes Leitru, and she's like, "Demand to know, what are you doing? What is this stupid clock for? What's happening?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm saving humanity," and I'll tell you why I'm saving humanity, because Cyclops, that very thing you found, right? 7 Cavalry are basically just Cyclops with a new name. They're still the same thing, and in an hour, they're going to try and destroy Dr. Manhattan and then become him. In fact, I mean, we haven't talked about the Laurie scenes yet, but I think it was before this where there's literally a line where he says, "I thought I'll try being blue." And I went,
yeah,
wait, what? So then this obviously kind of adds to that. And then she goes, also, I believe that Dr. Manhattan is in Tulsa and is pretending to be a human. And, Angela's like, oh, did you put that in the old man's head? Like, nah, he put it in mine. And kind of goes on. But, like, so she is trying to save Manhattan. So this is, because we were speculating a lot of, when she first showed up, is she pro or anti-Manhattan? And what does she want to accomplish? So she wants to save the world from the white supremacists, which is a pretty noble goal. I don't know how much I trust her that that's 100% just what she's doing, but that's what she's claiming, at least at this point.
I mean, we have no idea what the Millennium Clock is still. I mean, they sort of talked about it on the show, on this episode, and like during her big speech, and she still didn't answer the question of, but what is it?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah, Angela, when the sort of the dinner table scene that they had earlier when they're having like lunch or whatever, she outright asked her, what is it? And she's basically refused to tell her. She said, no, I'm not telling you. So I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure we'll see it in action. Possibly the end of the next episode. Although it's only an hour till it goes, so maybe it'll be before the end of the episode. Unless
I suspect we won't know until the last episode.
Yeah, but they said it was going to happen in an hour. So, like, unless the next episode is literally going to be 24 style real time. Like, we're going to be going through every minute until we get to the end.
Or another flashback.
Yeah. It's Lube Man's time. Lube Man's flashback's coming.
Solo episode. We have to know. Who is he? He's as mysterious as the Millennium Clock.
So, Angela's like, this is bullshit. Does the whole stern face thing, and she storms out. And Lady True's like, hey, you never asked who. I just told you that Manhattan's in Tulsa pretending to be someone, and you never asked who. And that's actually
I
when
assumed it's because she didn't believe her. She's like, that's impossible, so I'm not even going to entertain it.
No, as soon as she said that, I thought Cal. And bizarrely, and the reason why I immediately thought of Cal is because I thought you'd suggested that several episodes ago. So,
I don't know, it's me.
So, and if it is Cal, that question, the way she's like prodding Angela, you didn't ask who, made a lot of sense that it was Cal. Because that's why she's.
It didn't make any sense until she murdered him. Like I had no idea. There's no way it was me, because I wouldn't have guessed that. There's nothing in the show that says that they're the same person.
I hope you did jokingly suggest this, just because it makes you look even more foolish right now that you suggested it and then were completely shocked.
If I said it, it was definitely a joke.
But she goes home. She does have to ram the car of Red Scare, who's yelling things at her as she does so, and his accent.
He has fast metabolism. He's always eating every time we see him.
Do you know the weird thing about that question is like to the other cop, I was like, it's not like he's a slim guy. I mean, he does look. He looks like he eats a lot. Like
he's wearing a tracksuit, but I don't actually see him running. I see him eating.
Yes, he's a pretty schlubby guy. I mean, he's not huge, but he's a pretty typical overweight, middle-aged looking dude.
He's probably like strong fat.
Sure.
Yeah.
True. Yes. As opposed to pathetic fat, like most of us. Yes.
I'm working on it.
I was referring to myself before I get any shit. So she goes home. And Cal walks in, and he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" If anything, the one problem I had with this scene is that he kind of like gets up. He fell asleep reading a book, and all I could think was, "Wait, you were sitting reading a book when you were mad that you couldn't go see your wife who was having a medical emergency? Like, I feel like you'd be pacing around and."
What a stand-up guy. Well, she's always taking care of herself. Like, I'm sure, even though he wants to see her, that he believes she's fully capable.
So he comes out of the kitchen and she starts saying things that are really weird. Because this is the thing, right? So as soon as Lady True said that you didn't ask who it was, because I thought you'd suggested it, I immediately thought of Cal. So in my head, I was already thinking Cal is Manhattan at this point. But what I did not expect, the part of this scene that kind of blew my mind, is that he didn't know, but Angela did. Angela knowing is what blew my mind in this scene. Is that this is something that she'd been keeping, and this is something that she says, hey, that accident you had, like he thinks he had amnesia, and it was something that Lady True was prodding earlier as well with Cal, which I guess was probably the other reason why I thought it was Cal immediately, is because that was another line of questioning she had earlier, was like, hey, that amnesia your husband has, that's like really rare, like actual complete amnesia is like almost next to impossible, and Angela's like, well, he has it, and I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of hinting at something, and she's like, hey, we made this choice for you to do this so we could be together for as long as we could, but we knew it wouldn't last forever. And I'm like, wait, so you outright fell in love with Dr. Manhattan, and Dr. Manhattan like took this form?
He loves the ladies.
Yeah. And in fact, I was actually thinking that he just created Cal when this accident happened, but then the whole not having the memories, it sounds like he became Cal and then got amnesia and forgot it was Dr. Manhattan. That's what it sounds like when she's talking about it in this scene.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't... I have so many questions. I don't know what it could be. Like, because he clearly has a physical form. She has to bash his brains in through his skull in order to remove a thing. And then we don't get to see Manhattan. We just see a glowing light, like, reflected in her eyes. And I guess, I mean, he has the ability to do that, I suppose, to create a physical body, or does he just inhabit somebody else?
Well, assuming he created Vight's bubble on Europa, then there's clones on there.
Cal came from a lake as a fetus?
Well, not specifically the lake, but the idea that if he can create clones, then maybe Cal's body's a clone and he just went inside it, and that's why there's a physical shell that she has to. Which, by the way, the visual of her taking a hammer out and just bashing Cal's brains in, and then putting her fingers in the head to pull out the little like the ring, like, it was really violent and really like, man, like we know she cares about him, and she even in this scene, like even finding out that it's actually Manhattan really underneath there,
Yeah.
like, but the way she kind of just has to go full throttle with this and just completely bash his brains in like a complete psychopath to get this ring out. Because this is really the end of the episode. We end the episode with her looking at the the symbol on his forehead, the atom symbol.
So do you think that Cal then,
and I
as
realized,
Manhattan, is the one who saved her on the White Knight?
I realized when I did that, I kind of almost did the Cyclops thing that the cop did last episode. I wasn't trying to do that. I was doing the ring on Manhattan's head.
It's not a secret code.
Yeah. I was too busy thinking of that. What was your question, sorry?
So do you think that Cal then is the one who saved her, or Dr. Manhattan saved her on the White Knight? Because there was that second, I don't want to say second gunman because that brings up other things, but there's the second cavalryman who had the gun pointed at her head, and then she passed out and woke up in the hospital. And we were speculating maybe Judd was there, the other one who just hesitated on killing her. Or now that we know that Dr. Manhattan's there, maybe he still had some of his memory at that time and just vaporized him. Who knows?
It could be either. It could be Manhattan saved her, or she was never meant to actually die. I mean, admittedly, the way that the first gunman was trying to, like, you know, shoot her repeatedly maybe suggests otherwise. But the whole idea that we find out in the other plot that this was all kind of a ruse to get the you know, to enact this mask law to kind of force that was kind of interesting. And so no, the ending was a complete, you know, what the hell moment. It was you know, even though I kind of guessed
he doesn't have his memories and she dies, like she gets killed on the White Knight or whatever, does he just live like his normal life until he dies and doesn't know that he's Manhattan?
I don't know.
How does it work? Is there like a failsafe?
What sort of question is that to ask me? I don't know.
I'm just curious how this works. Like if she dies, like, I don't know, on a mission with Looking Glass or something, and the cavalry shoots her, she dies. Does Cal just raise the kids and think he's Cal until, I don't know, he's growing old and dies? And if nobody removes the thing from his brain, does he just, I don't know.
I guess, but the more pertinent question at this point would be, what is she going to do with this? Is she taking it somewhere to kind of reinactivate Dr. Manhattan, or what? Like, what's she going to do with it?
She said we're in trouble, right?
Yes, but because Larry True's onto them, she clearly knows that he's there. But what does this atom symbol do? Like I mean, it's not like Manhattan is physically in the body. If it's just this thing, it's almost like this is just like almost like a broadcaster. Like, you know, Manhattan's actually projecting into him from elsewhere, and this is just the receiver.
There could be multiple Cals, multiple people with things in their head, because he can multiply himself.
True, yeah, maybe.
Or I thought maybe it was some kind of like blocker. And when he removed it, that's when, like, Manhattan becomes himself again.
Oh, so you think he gave himself amnesia by putting a blocker in? So what you think is going to happen is that Manhattan will just step up out of Cal's body then next episode.
Yeah, and just vaporize it to get rid of the evidence.
Good luck explaining where her husband went to, you know, the authorities anytime soon. But
they're busy.
But
they're busy being traitors.
But that's my first question: is what does she do with this thing? Like, how do we actually get Manhattan back with this thing? And I expect there will be more flashbacks now. I have to imagine we're going to get flashbacks of how she met Manhattan.
Well, I mean, it could be, if it is some kind of a blocker. Yeah, I expect that too, by the way. If this is some kind of a blocker thing for the blue guy, and we know our main villain wants to be blue, maybe it could be used as a weapon against him.
Maybe, yeah. Angela knows so little about what their plan is right now. This leads us nicely into Laurie's plot, where we hear that she
Yeah.
recorded everything that Angela was saying. Angela apparently was like, almost speaking out everything she was experiencing on the nostalgia. So she has like the Cyclops, and she has all the mind control stuff, and all the rest of it. And she goes to see Judd's wife, Jane, and she, because it's here, and she's like, "Oh, I know who killed your husband." And it explains who Will is, and she sits down. And it's not. I'm noting that she sits down because this is going to be relevant in a bit. And she explains this whole Cyclops thing, and that Will was hooded justice, and seemed to think that her husband was part of Cyclops with a new name, and even points out the hooded justice thing and the idea. And do you know what? Again, there was a tell in this scene for me where I saw I didn't see the trap door coming, right? I'm not going to say that, but there was a tell in this scene for me where I immediately went, "No, Jane's in on it, and she's evil."
Yeah, I know what it is.
It was the second. Yes, it's the second when Laurie explains, "Oh, he was black. He had to pretend to be white because a white man in a mask. Oh, that's a hero, but a black man in a mask, that's scary." And
thank God times have changed.
yeah, as soon as she said that, I went, "All right, you're a white supremacist bitch. Like, I know who you are." Like, I got it. I could see right
she
through
could have
you.
been innocent, just having the one hit. I mean, having her husband's KKK uniform, Grand Wizard uniform, or whatever in the back of the closet. Like, well, that's his thing. He's holding on to it because of heritage or whatever, legacy. But she could have been innocent.
You called it a Grand Wizard uniform. Is that an actual term for it, or did you just call it that there as a joke?
I think so.
That's an actual term for it?
Yeah, they all have stupid names like that.
So you're telling me that people in the KKK are going around calling themselves wizards? Is that a thing?
I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah.
So the lame and top
Grand
of
Wizard is an
awful.
actual,
Okay, that's
yeah. They're all a bunch of Tolkien nuts.
No, all I can think about is them shouting Expelliarmus, when they're at their stupid rallies.
Oh, Harry Potter.
That's a Harry Potter reference, yeah. I don't know a lot about Harry Potter, but I know they say Expelliarmus and wave their wand.
I know I'm not a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah, neither am I.
Yeah, I don't want to search it because I don't want it in my history of my son. But I'm pretty sure that it's Grand Wizard is a real thing.
Yeah,
it's the only thing I know. But I think all the titles that they have for different positions, I think they're all equally stupid.
I'm the pink flamingo. All right, quivering fish. Let's go see the Grand Wizard.
Yeah, Grand Wizard just sounds like a bunch of teenage kids playing Tolkien in the LARPing.
Yeah, it sounds like LARPers. Yeah, bunch of pathetic LARPers.
Yeah,
but not to insult actual LARPers.
You guys are real cool.
Anyway, so she's sitting there doing this, and when she says what she thinks the plan is that the whole White Knight thing was because she suspects Senator Kane. Senator Kane's the one who enacted the whole masks, vigilante cops masks thing. Like that was him. Basically the White Knight was essentially a catapult to use to enforce that and come up with that idea. So no one could tell who the good guys and the bad guys were because everyone's wearing masks, and ultimately put Senator Kane as the president. And Jane just goes, "Well, that was the plan at first, but then we had bigger, more grander ideas. President was small potatoes." And
then she becomes Wile E. Coyote.
And then she pulls out her remote, presses her button, it doesn't work. This is my favorite part of this, is that it doesn't work. And Laurie's sitting there going, "What the hell are you doing? What's going on?"
Yeah.
And then the chair.
I thought it was going to be like a flashlight.
All right. And then the trapdoor kind of lowers just a little bit. Like she just jolts down a bit. She's like, "Wait a minute." And then she presses the button again, and then she just falls.
Yeah, it's too late though.
The whole chair just
she
falls.
Can't escape from that.
That was a complete what the hell moment. But what I want to say about this, the thing she said about no one can tell who the good guys and the bad guys are because everyone's wearing masks. I felt that this was talking about anonymity, and it was making me think of the internet and
me too.
Political debates. I was getting kind of that sense.
Yeah, masks is definitely an allegory for this being anonymous online and all the terrible things that people will say just because they don't think there's any consequence since people don't know who they are.
Yep, no, absolutely. And then we see later that she's actually been held captive in a secret location, presumably down where the trapdoor was, where Kane's there. He's got his Rorschachs all building a cage of some kind. It's hard to tell what it is. And he's going to monologue his plan, and Laurie's, don't monologue. I don't want to hear your
She
stupid
goes full
plan.
comedian.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. And, you know, he goes on in this speech, and it's the most incel of incel speeches about how Cyclops are not villains, they're there to restore balance, and, you know, things have tipped too far in the other direction. You don't know how hard it is to be a white man in America today, he says.
Yeah.
And then he leans in and says, so I thought I'd try being blue instead. And I love her reaction to that. She gives him this look. There's this stare.
Like, are you guys really capable of doing that? Like, because that could be terrible.
That's terrifying, yeah. And at the very least, you're psychotic for thinking you can pull that off. But I think thematically, the episode kind of ties together here because the opening scene was a documentary talking about how the real Manhattan was created. It talks about him going back in to get the watch, and you know how
and
he
then
popped
how
out.
he was used as a weapon against the Vietnamese.
Exactly. So,
I mean, now Manhattan is like beyond that. Like he couldn't care less about humanity by the time the end of the Watchmen, the comic ends. He's like I think he refers to Veidt as like, you being the world's smartest man is like you thinking like being next to the world's smartest termite. Like it means nothing to me. And he just bails.
The question is though, is he still like uncaring about humanity because he's been in
now that we know
yeah,
he's there, like maybe, but
he fell in love.
That was the natural progression of Dr. Manhattan. Was eventually he was just like, I don't care about anybody.
Yeah, but
I'm not American, or I'm not even part of Earth anymore.
But did he re-find his humanity because he fell in love and got married and even potentially took his own memories away? If not the accident did it and it was unintentional, but like he came and hid in a body to be with someone because he wanted a life with someone, with a person.
Yeah.
Something about Angela like spoke to him. Also, I can't.
The ladies.
I can't wait until Laurie knows about this. And we see Laurie and Angela confront.
She was pretty, I don't like using this term, but pretty thirsty on Cal before. I don't like using that term. It's the only time I'll ever say it.
Unless you're actually thirsty.
I mean, sometimes I have water here. But yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah, if you're actually thirsty, and the way that the words are traditionally used for wanting a beverage, yes, one can be thirsty.
Yes.
So,
and that's why Angela's been so like, screw you, Laurie. Also, because my man was into you for a while.
It's her husband's ex. Yes, there's actually a weird line of thinking here now. Yeah. So. This is pretty interesting. The idea that someone's becoming or wants to become Manhattan, wants to become the new Manhattan. And what's interesting though is that in that scene, because we got that scene first with he said he wanted to be blue, and that was like a total what the hell moment. But see, when he said that, there was nothing about destroying the original Manhattan to do it. It wasn't until Lady True said that later, and I was like, oh wait, so that's a caveat then, they have to do that. So...
She has to know the future, right? Because she knows exactly when it's going to happen. There's something... There's something that's giving her information. Because she knows exactly what they're doing and when it's going to happen. And I think now she probably did know that whatever it was that landed on the farm was going to happen when she bought it.
Sure, no, I can see that.
At least a little bit before. So...
And that appears to be what
blue booths.
But
I don't know what it could be.
No, that appears to be the thing that landed in the farm. I'm kind of more convinced now that that's what the clock is built on top of. Because that was in the past. That was before the clock was built. So I'm wondering if whatever alien materials in this meteorite is kind of fueling it, or the key ingredient. It's the flux capacitor, if you will, of the clock.
Okay.
And it's getting ready to flux. I don't know. I'm just that's the.
It's fluxing.
It's fluxing. Flux capacitor fluxing, to quote Marty McFly. Power of love's a beautiful thing. Makes one man weep, makes another man sing. Anyway, so...
Stop.
So, we do have to mention a quick scene. Laurie's on the phone at one point before she goes into the house with Petey, who I still suspect is Lube Man. I suspect that he is Lube Man. But he goes into...
He's got a mask, and it's the Lube Man guy is just totally head to toe in silver.
But he's got the right build. He's a sort of scrawny dude.
Yeah, he's pretty scrawny.
But he goes to Looking Glass's place. He's there to try and find him because he's for whatever reason. And obviously we had that cliffhanger.
Because Laurie was suspicious that he turned on Angela so fast.
Yes, but we had that cliffhanger 2 episodes ago, his episode, where the 7th Cavalry were coming to get him with guns. And Petey goes into his bunker, and we see lots of dead 7th Cavalry. And it's like, okay, so Looking Glass probably survived. And where did he go? What is he doing now?
Well, he says there's 5 cavalrymen. One of them doesn't have a mask, which I think means that Looking Glass took the mask and he's going to infiltrate. He's going to infiltrate.
He's going to be there at the key moment to help. Probably save Laurie, and maybe they'll team up or something. I don't know. But that was a fun little tidbit. That was obviously just one scene, but we were so interested in hearing what happened or seeing what was going to happen at the end of that cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Looking Glass too.
Yeah. Well, the show's only got 9 episodes, and it's bouncing around characters who are getting like full episodes to themselves almost. That
Isn't it like so much more malicious hearing the senator say that it's hard to be a white man in America right now, after we just got a full episode of being a black man in America and how actual hard that was.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like twisting the knife a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think most audience members would roll their eyes or be sickened by him saying that, but I think the last episode really puts it in perspective, like just how ridiculous it is. Like, oh, how hard done by? Oh, there's some superhero movies
I'm a senator
that aren't white men. Oh, how difficult your life is.
This guy's like super white too. He's like the whitest guy I've ever seen. The whitest man in White Town.
Yes, on a political spectrum, not in a literal spectrum, because a literal spectrum you have to go to like Scandinavia to get the whitest people on the planet.
That's true.
Because they're like walking around like Thor. We have to talk about Veidt. That's the one thing I've not talked about yet, is Veidt's scene. As Foxy...
What is going on with Veidt?
As Foxy is making a racket in the mic.
Sorry, she's like right in the microphone, I know.
Yes. So we get his court case, which I can't remember the number, but they said it was like day
364, I think.
Oh, so it was almost another full year. So we've moved another year in Veidt's timeline. And he's just sitting there. He's in his costume. He's in his Ozymandias costume. And it's all...
his formal wear,
Yeah, it's all... not Crawford, sorry. It's all Cruikshanks' and Mr. Phillips. And the game warden is Mr. Phillips, same actor. I could see a lot more of him this episode.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, it's the same dude.
You know for sure?
Yeah. So he's the judge, the warden, and he's like, going through this, and we have a lawyer who's Cruikshanks, who stands up and says, from the moment he pulls us from that lake, he's destined to kill us and launches into the unknown. And but
she calls him master in like a really sensual way.
Well, yeah. See when she sits back down, she looks at him. She gives him a wink. She winks at him after giving this testimony, this statement of how awful he is and how he deserves to be punished and how he's guilty. She sits down and winks at him, and
master.
And then we get an absurd bit of humour where it's time for Ozymandias to make any statements he wants to make, and he just lets out a big fart, mocking the court. It's all a sham, it's all a parade. He's not taking any of this seriously. And maybe he's right.
Except he does cry.
He does cry, yes. And he gets carted away.
After a jury of pigs come out.
After a jury of pigs, because the Cruikshanks and Phillips aren't his peers, so let's get actual people who are on his level, and out come the pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all these little pigs.
And the pig squeals, and he says that means guilty. This is so bizarre. But I was laughing. I laughed at the fart. I kind of saw it coming.
I don't know if I saw a fart coming. I definitely didn't think he was going to say it in serious, but...
I was thinking it'd be pretty funny if he farted right now. Because he was totally silent. And he did. Of course. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the tears mean, though. Like, clearly he thinks this is all a joke. Or he's not taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Could it the tears be that he hasn't been rescued yet, and it's been a year since he made his message?
Yeah, maybe. It takes a long time to get to Europa.
Maybe it's that, or maybe it's... Is there any kind of guilt that he feels? I don't know, because they're all just shouting guilty at him when he starts crying. Wait, it's not crying. He has like a single tear.
Is it guilt over anything that he's done in here, or is it guilt over the 3 million people he killed that accomplished seemingly nothing?
Yeah, but he farts after that, so I don't know.
But he farts after that. What a line. Oh, dear.
Maybe the fart was really good, or it caused him to be emotional. He must have been holding it in for 364 days.
Oh, I could I've been eating a lot of beans recently, so I can sympathize with the man, but like there's a time and a place.
Gotta introduce beans slowly into your diet. Too much fiber.
Oh dear. So yeah, more on Veidt next week, presumably when he arrives on Earth. If this is who the father is, honestly, I think that's a fair guess, given that we're expecting him to show up, and we have been questioning the allegiance and the connections between characters. I feel like him being her father makes some sense.
Yeah, maybe that, or I mean, there's no chance it's Manhattan, right?
I don't think so. I wouldn't have thought so. It's given that she talks about Manhattan openly later in the episode, I feel like she would kind of refer to him that way again, but she doesn't. She's just completely, he's Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Which would be weird, because it'd be like, hey, Angela, you're kind of my stepmother.
That's weird.
Yeah, so I don't think so.
I don't know if 2 episodes is enough to answer all these questions that we have.
What's funny is that I'm pretty sure Damon Lindelof, I just found out this recently, apparently there's only really a plan for this first season right now, and if there is a second season, it'll be like a new idea or whatever. It'll be like it's not like he's got like seasons planned out where it's like Lube Man
and Panda.
Lube Man and Panda. 10 episodes.
It doesn't need to be as deep the second season. It's just goofy buddy cop.
Yeah, buddy cop. I just
Thor Ragnarok.
I just want Lube Man to be like lubing his way through things, and then Panda to be the guy who grabs the bad guys and like yells at them. Panda's the heavy, Lube Man's like the athletic, lubby one.
We haven't really seen Panda do much more than eat and complain about his job, so I don't know.
I'm just saying he'll stand there and yell at people and maybe punch them.
Mm.
He's the Vic Mackey. He's the one who picks up the phone book and whacks the guy in the face.
All right, yeah.
Lube Man's like doing parkour and sliding through gaps.
I think Panda's more of like the Oracle.
Okay.
To Lube Man's Batman.
Okay, all right. Tower of the Oracle reference. I can dig it. I honestly wouldn't have guessed.
I played part of Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't have guessed you'd know who Oracle was. But yeah, I guess with the video games, it's become a bit more common knowledge. All right. Tara's cat is meowing, but it's okay. It's okay, Gus Kitty, because we're actually wrapping up. We have gotten to the end of the plot that we're going to talk about. Eventful episode.
Yep. We got an elephant and pigs.
We got an elephant, pigs, a trapdoor, and she's going to murder her husband with a hammer and pull out a metal atom symbol.
Mm-hmm. And a really impressive fart from Ozymandias.
And a really impressive fart. So that has been Watchmen episode 7. We got 2 more left. So join us next week for the next one. You can let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Ding the bell on YouTube. Make sure you get the notifications. You can support everything we do by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. It helps us out. More people will find us that way. You can also support us financially, of course. Tara, how can people do that?
You can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MomFuzzTV. We love our patrons, and they only have to give $1, and we give them a bunch of stuff. And if you want to donate more, you'll get credits in the videos that we do, and you'll get bonus episodes of shows we do. Not this one, but of our movie show. So check it out.
What would a bonus episode of this be anyway? Like, would it be us for like an hour just sitting here pitching all the possible Lubman movies we could make?
That'd be a good one.
Come on, send to Patreon. The Lubman pitch.
We have to come up with a 9-episode arc.
Lubman and the
Lubman Saves Christmas. I'd watch it, but I don't know what it is yet.
And the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Lubman and I don't know. I keep going.
You can't just pitch other movies.
You can. It's Lubman exploitation.
Lubman versus Predator.
I don't know why I said Lubman exploitation, not Lubsploitation. Like a whole genre. But yeah, that is us. Thank you. Check out other stuff we've got, of course. Movie podcast. Me and Tara do a science fiction movie podcast called The Atomic Cinema Experiment. So if you like us chatting, you might like that because we talk about movies and have fun there. You can check out Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast that I do with Tim, or other TV reviews that we have, such as Mr. Robot right now that I do with Connor, or The Mandalorian, and there's more stuff coming soon because The Expanse is about to come back and The Witcher is about to start soon. So lots of big TV stuff coming, so go check it out. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?